This isn't a movie. This isn't fiction. It really happened. 15,000 ordinary people in Burkina Faso, not soldiers, not officials, came together with one mission: clean their entire country in just 7 days. No fancy machines. No big budget. Just brooms, sweat, unity, and a powerful vision. But why did they do it? How did they organize it? And what does this bold act say to the rest of Africa and the world? Stay with me, because this story might change how you see your country forever. Burkina Faso is a land of proud people. A land of deep culture, strong hearts, and rich history. But like many countries, it had a problem. The streets were full of waste. Plastic bags floated in the wind. Gutters were blocked. Markets were dirty. It had been this way for years. People had gotten used to it. They walked past trash like it wasn't even there. Some blamed the government. Others just said, "That's how it is." But deep down, everyone knew this wasn't how it was supposed to be. Mothers wanted clean places for their children to play. Fathers wanted healthy streets for their families to walk on. Young people wanted a future they could be proud of. But nothing was changing. Then, something happened. Something powerful. Something simple. A call went out. Not from politicians. Not from outsiders. But from the people themselves. Community leaders, youth groups, teachers, and elders came together. They asked one question. What if we clean Burkina Faso with our own hands? It started as a small idea. But small ideas, when shared, can grow fast. Local leaders began to talk about it on radio stations. They used simple language so everyone could understand. "We are not waiting anymore," they said. "We are doing this together." Soon, the word spread. In churches, mosques, schools, and even small markets, people talked about the plan. Posters were pasted on walls. Megaphones echoed through the streets. Social media pages began to buzz. Young people made videos on TikTok and Facebook. They said things like, "Let's make Burkina Faso clean again. We're not just talking. We're doing." At first, some people laughed. They said, "It's too big. You can't clean a whole country." But the response was simple. "We'll start with one street. Then one market. Then another. And we won't stop." And guess what? People listened. People believed. And most importantly, people joined. From the north to the south, from villages to cities, thousands of Burkinabè stood up. Men, women, students, farmers, shop owners, and even old grandmothers. In just a few days, over 15,000 people signed up to be part of the cleanup mission. Not for money. Not for praise. But for love of their country. Volunteers were grouped into teams. Each team was given a zone. Some cleaned schools, others cleaned roads. Some picked plastic from rivers. Others planted trees along the streets. There was no boss. No one above the rest. Everyone was equal. Everyone was working. Children as young as 10 helped carry water buckets. Old men shared advice on how to clean wells and fix broken paths. Women brought food and water to keep the workers strong. And the spirit was high. Even though the sun was hot. Even though the work was hard. Nobody gave up. Each day before work began, the groups would gather. They'd cheer. They'd sing. They reminded each other. We are doing this for ourselves. For our future. Local radio gave updates every morning. People tuned in to hear which area had been cleaned. Messages poured in from proud Burkinabè, cheering the volunteers on. It became more than just a cleanup. It became a movement. A moment of unity. A symbol of strength. Something magical was happening. For years, people had complained about the government. They had waited for help. Now, they realized they could help themselves. And that changed everything. In those first few days, more and more people joined. Some who were watching from the side jumped in to help. Traders stopped selling for a few hours to sweep their own stalls. Students took breaks from school to help clean their streets. Soon, uniforms didn't matter. Jobs didn't matter. Age didn't matter. Everyone was just a citizen with a broom, a bucket, and a big heart. The power of this cleanup wasn't just in the tools. It was in the people. The unity. The hope. They weren't just removing trash. They were removing doubt. They were removing fear. They were removing the idea that Africa must wait to be saved. This chapter of the story, the beginning, was the most important. Because it showed one thing clearly. When the people rise, change begins. Not next year. Not next month. Now. And that's how it all started. With a call. A call to clean. A call to care. A call to act. 15,000 Burkinabè didn't wait. They stood up, they stepped out, and they said, "Let's make our country beautiful." Together. When the first day came, nobody waited. People woke up early. Some were even out before the sun. It was the beginning of something special, 7 days to clean the whole country. Across Burkina Faso, from the capital city Ouagadougou to small villages in the north and south, people were ready. They had their brooms, buckets, gloves, and wheelbarrows. Some wore old t-shirts and face masks. Others tied scarves around their heads to block the dust. This wasn't a one-city event. It was nationwide. From big markets to small roads, dirty gutters to blocked drains, everyone had a job to do. Each team had a leader. But the leaders weren't giving orders like bosses. They were there to organize, show where to start, what tools to use, and how to work safely. There was no shouting. No stress. Just teamwork and respect. Day 1 focused on cleaning the main roads. The goal was to clear the spaces where people walked and traveled every day. Plastic bags, old food waste, wrappers, and bottles, bags and bags of trash were collected. In some places, people found trash that had been lying there for years. In others, they uncovered blocked water drains that were causing flooding during rains. Clearing these helped stop future problems too. It wasn't just about beauty, it was also about health. By the end of the first day, the results were already visible. The roads looked clearer. The air smelled better. And most importantly, people felt proud. On day 2, the focus shifted to markets and public places. This was one of the hardest days. Markets are busy, full of traders, animals, and a lot of daily waste. But the teams handled it with energy and care. They swept the grounds, cleaned toilets, removed old food, and set up trash bins. They even repainted some damaged walls and planted small flowers near entrance points. Traders were so happy, many joined the work too. They said things like, "We've never seen this before. Thank you." Some donated food and drinks to keep the volunteers strong. By day 3, energy was still high. This time, the teams went into residential areas and schools. They cleaned around homes, removed garbage from open fields, and made sure schools were clean for the children. Some groups worked near hospitals, making sure the areas around them were safe and tidy. Others went door to door, encouraging families to keep their spaces clean even after the campaign. Children helped too. They carried small bags, collected plastic bottles, and learned about hygiene and the environment. Many of them said they wanted to be part of every cleanup from now on. Day 4 was tree planting day. In many dry areas of Burkina Faso, dust covers everything. So, the teams decided to plant thousands of young trees along roads, in parks, and in open spaces. Each tree had a small sign beside it. Planted by the people. Protected by the people. They watered the plants, added stones to protect them, and told kids to watch over them like pets. This wasn't just about cleaning anymore. It was about building a greener future. On day 5, the teams returned to areas that still needed help. They visited the edges of towns, smaller villages, and forgotten corners. This day was about not leaving anyone behind. They found old dumps and slowly cleared them with patience. In some places, they turned waste areas into community spaces, where people could gather and rest. By now, the whole country was watching. Radio updates came every hour. People were posting photos online, before and after shots that amazed everyone. Look at this street. It was full of trash. Now it's clean. We did this ourselves. On day 6, the teams focused on finishing touches. They painted road signs. They fixed broken benches. They added bins in busy areas. They even helped set up small groups to watch over the places and keep them clean. Everyone knew this wasn't just for 7 days. It was the start of something bigger. And then came day 7. The final day. But instead of slowing down, people worked harder. They wanted to finish strong. The goal, to leave every area better than they found it. At the end of the day, people gathered in public spaces. They danced. They clapped. They cheered. Not because someone told them to, but because they were proud. They looked at what they had done, a cleaner, greener Burkina Faso. Not cleaned by machines. Not by foreign groups. But by the hands of Burkinabè citizens themselves. These 7 days proved something powerful. When people come together, there's nothing they cannot do. They didn't wait for help. They didn't give excuses. They acted. With brooms, bags, and unity. They made history. After 7 days of hard work, something had changed in Burkina Faso. But it wasn't just the streets. It wasn't just the markets. The people had changed too. For the first time in a long while, many citizens felt something deep inside. Pride. When people looked around, they saw clean streets, fresh air, and beautiful trees. But even more than that, they saw something more powerful, hope. People smiled more. They greeted each other kindly. Even strangers who had never spoken before were now working together, sharing jokes and water. The cleanup had brought people together in ways no meeting or speech ever could. And that was the real power behind this project, unity. In the past, there were arguments between different groups. Some people said, this is the government's job. Others said, let the NGOs handle it. And so, nothing got done. But now, people saw the truth. They didn't need to wait. They could solve problems themselves. This cleanup wasn't just about removing trash. It removed something else, the feeling of being powerless. Now, people believed again. In cities like Ouagadougou and Bobo-Dioulasso, children ran around clean parks. Elders sat outside on painted benches, enjoying fresh air and open spaces. Street vendors worked on newly cleaned sidewalks, proud to sell in a clean environment. Many people began to ask, why didn't we do this earlier? What else can we fix together? It was like a light had been turned on. Leaders from other West African countries began calling. Some even sent messages of congratulations. They wanted to understand what happened, how everyday people cleaned a whole country in just 1 week. The answer was simple. Together. There was no $1 million budget. No foreign experts. No magic tools. Just everyday people with brooms, rakes, and love for their country. One woman in a small village said, I used to think the government didn't care. Now I know I can help fix my own village. We all can. Another young man who helped clean a school said, I didn't feel like a citizen before. But now, I feel like I belong. This is my country too. That's the power of action. When people act together, their mindset changes. They stop blaming. They start building. And it didn't stop there. After the 7-day cleanup, something amazing happened. Small groups began forming all across the country. Community groups, youth clubs, even students started planning monthly cleanups. People didn't want the old ways to come back. They wanted to keep their towns clean and their hearts united. The cleanup had started a new culture. A culture of self-respect. A culture of teamwork. A culture of do-it-yourself instead of wait for help. And this culture is powerful. Because when people take charge of their problems, everything becomes possible. Some towns started talking about building small parks. Others began fixing broken classrooms and painting public buildings. Ideas were flying around like birds, fresh, new, full of life. And even the children understood what had happened. In one school, a teacher asked the class, "What did we learn from the cleanup?" A small girl stood up and said, "That when we do things together, we can make anything better." Simple words, but full of truth. The cleanup didn't just clean the land. It cleaned the spirit of the people. It reminded them of their strength. It reminded them that they don't need to wait to be saved. They have everything they need, right there, inside them. So, what does this story tell the rest of Africa? It says, we don't have to wait. We don't have to beg. We can fix our homes, our towns, our countries, together. Burkina Faso showed the way. With no money, no foreign aid, and no long speeches. Just unity, action, and love. And now, it's up to the rest of us. Will we follow the example? Will we clean, fix, and build with our own hands? Because the truth is clear. No one is coming to save us. But we don't need saving. We just need each other. So, the next time someone says, Africa can't change, tell them about the 15,000 Burkinabè who cleaned their country in 7 days. Tell them about the children who helped plant trees. Tell them about the mothers, the students, the old men, the young girls. All working side by side. Tell them this. Africa can rise. And it starts with us.